If there's nobody there legally, the Rav can do it without.
I understand. Okay, listen. I'm going to over here discuss. I think that this subject of today's shiur is extremely important, extremely complex, and rather sensible. Okay? The subject of the shiur is danger in halacha. When a person is allowed to put himself in danger, and what kind of danger is a person allowed to do? I will just preface that when I came to Ramat Beit Shemesh many years ago, there were two ways to come here from Yerushalayim: either take the 38 or take the 375. Both of those highways were in the top 10 dangerous highways in the country. And this is not a country with many safe highways. So unfortunately, I've seen many, many accidents on the way here. And the question is, are you allowed to drive on such a highway? If statistically there are a lot of accidents there, maybe you have no business going there. What's the answer to that question? That even though the answer is that the statistics may be that it's worse than other places, but it doesn't mean that disaster is around the bend. Okay? What I will say, and being that this is for a 60s over group, if we were to talk about, are you allowed to go skiing? Okay? I'm not right now discussing whether I go skiing or not. You hear Ramat Beit Shemesh, it's a very big taiva. Get hold of some snow over here. But at any rate, skiing is dangerous. You want to know? Go to any place where they have skiing and you'll find there, unfortunately, there are a lot of accidents there. Are you allowed to go skiing? Are you allowed to go swimming in the Yam? These are not funny jokes. These are serious questions. The answer to the question is there's danger in crossing Rehov Lachish too. There is a difference in perception and a difference in what an actuary would cause chances. I'm going to first start off with a statement which I believe to be true. And I think that Rabbi Yashiv disagrees with what I'm saying. However, the Tzitz Eliezer agrees with what I'm saying. This is b'machlok shanu. I'm starting off asking a question. If statistically it's just as dangerous to go into the old city as it is to walk down the street in Harlem, is there a halachic difference or preference to go in one place over the other? What does that mean? Why? If it's the same statistical difference. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's, okay. But the understand is the question understood? Okay. So I'm going to answer that question. This is what I believe to be true. As far as I know, the people that may attack one in Harlem, and by the way, anybody doesn't know what Harlem is, good for you. Anybody doesn't know what, if somebody may attack you in Harlem, they have absolutely nothing against you. Just they need things which you can give them, and therefore they will try to get it from you. But there's nothing, no animosity against you in particular. Whereas if you go in the streets of East Jerusalem, there's nothing that you have that they want except that they want to get you. What they're after is something else. They're not after you in Harlem. They're after what you may be able to give them. And what they're after in the old city is they're after you. So even though the statistic may be the same of being attacked, but one is, so to speak, yoter b'kavenet. He's more in the, what's it called, the kavenet? Or the gun, the focus of the scope. The scope, thank you very much. One is more in the scope. That's not the right. That's correct. That's not the right word. That's it. Yeah, but it's good. But he's in. You know, he's in the focus of where you're going after. So you're being tailed, we're after you, so therefore you're in more danger, even though statistically you're not in more danger. So I'm just using that, using that as an example that you can have exactly the same statistic, but there's a difference. There's a difference. Now that difference translates itself into many, many different situations. I'm going to start off with a Gemara, and we're going to go from that Gemara and speak about some of the practical applications of sakana. Obviously, this year we're going to get to what is one allowed to do in today's environment and what is one not allowed to do in today's environment. And are all people the same? And the answer obviously is no. Some people have less risk, so then they're allowed to do more. Whether one should do more or shouldn't do more, that's a separate question. That's an individual question. I mean, individual doesn't necessarily mean for the specific individual we're talking about, but it has to do with other factors that are involved. And I'm just going to start off and say something which is an amazing thing. I have a friend of mine whose father is 94, if I'm not mistaken, and he goes to visit him every day. And this friend of mine, he has many children of many ages, and they're an active bunch. And I asked him, are you going to visit your father? He says, of course. So I said, are you sure you should be doing that? He says, I'm sure I should be doing it. I spoke to the doctor, and the doctor said, it's more dangerous for my father to not have visitors than to have me come and visit. And not only that, I know, and I'm careful when I'm there not to do anything or touch anything in any way that should endanger him. So it's 100% as a mitzvah to do, so to speak. So does that mean, so anybody who's 95, you can go and visit? That doesn't necessarily mean that either. But you have to know what's at stake in each individual case. So first, the Gemara in Chulin, Daf Tesam Beis, has a discussion, and the Gemara says something which people quote all the time. Chamira sakanta mi'isura. Chamira sakanta mi'isura means that we are more scrutinizing, we are more machmer when it comes to sakana than when it comes to iser. Iser, we could be saimech on certain kinds of halachic loopholes that we won't necessarily rely on when we're speaking about iser. Now, I'll just to go on a side issue on this, which is a fascinating idea. I think it's worth the trip to go and see this. The Gemara discusses that if you have milk and meat, and milk falls into meat, and there's 60 times the amount of, milk into meat. So 60 times the amount of meat than there is milk. So it's batal b'shishim. What would be the halacha if you had cyanide? Would batal b'shishim help? Of course not, right? Now, there is a number which we understand. I don't know, cyanide is highly potent. That's why I picked that in particular. But even if you have things which are not so potent, regular sakana, would we say, if we don't know otherwise, would we say that it's batal b'shishim or not? And there's a machlokes apoiskim, machlokes the shach and the taz on this issue. If we say chamira sakanta mi'isura, as far as bittul is concerned. But again, even the cyanide is not batal b'shishim, but neither is pepper batal b'shishim. Anything which is strong, it's not batal b'shishim. That batal b'shishim is just a number which is used for the general foodstuffs that they lose their potency at that level. On this idea of chamira sakanta b'yisura, I'd like to read to you two different explanations. Why is it so that sakana is more chomer than iser? The Chassam Sofer says, "Achile klal lahavit." The Isura, when he's speaking about Isser, afil yizdamin loy mimia trefus, you were soimech and roiv, and you assume that this behemoth is kosher, and it wasn't. Ein loy oven asher chata. He didn't do it on Avera. Why? Ketera also lismach al rov. The Torah said to be samach on the rov. Umisha hizra ala treifa who hit their lismach al rov. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, don't eat treif. He also said that you could be samach on the rov. So you have legal backing. If you ended up doing an isser, they said, why'd you do it? They said, the Torah said I'm allowed to do it. I did not say that the person didn't do an avera, but he has backing, which makes it that much better. Masha'en came b'sakonis nefashos, in izdamen loy mehamiyit, yistake. If it's going to end up on the wrong side of the equation, he's going to be in a sakana, v'iyaf shalahashiv neshvesh upashut. Now, this is not so pashut, this is some sofer shita, but the other achronim, they say, and this is something, if I'm not mistaken, I spoke about this Shabbos Shuvah about 10 years ago, for those who remember. I spoke about this idea. If a person ate something, he was Samech on Rov, and he ate something, and it ended up that it was treif, does he have to do tshuva or not? So, since we're in Elul, I would like to remind you of something which you all know by heart. Al chet shechatanu lifonecha with the aleph. Ba'oines u'varatzon. Even though I did it ba'oines, I still have to say al chet. It smells to me like there's a chet even in doing something ba'oines. We'll just leave it at that. But this is the Chassam Sofer's answer. The Gemara Tzchias has a different answer. But the Gemara Tzchias says as follows. The Rambam holds that Safek D'Rabbanon is mutter min ha-Torah. Excuse me, Safek D'Oraisa is mutter min ha-Torah. It's only also b'Rabbanon. And he says, however, Safek Sakana, that's also midoraisa according to everybody. And there he brings something other, and therefore he says it's clear that sakana is more. Now I'd like to ask a question. Why is it that a person is allowed to drive a car? We know that there are accidents that happen every day. What does that mean?
The same reason as women can get pregnant and get birth.
I want to tell you something. I'm going to share with you something which I was zeicha. Sometimes this whole share is worth it just for me to tell over this story. A fascinating story. There's somebody that I'm very, very close to, lives in America, and he had a child, and his wife almost died in childbirth. And then he had a second child, and his wife almost died again in childbirth. And she told her husband after the second child, that's it, I don't want to have any more kids. Now, I'm willing to buy one in the store, but just he doesn't want to have to go through this danger of chas v'shalom, maybe not being here. And this young man was about 27 at the time, and he was totally broken. And he didn't know what to do. And he went to a very famous mashgiach, who I happen to know this mashgiach personally for over 40 years. And the mashgiach told him something amazing. He said, there is no mitzvah in the Torah for a woman to have a child. You know why? Because the Torah doesn't command you to put yourself in that level of danger. The Torah allows one to, but there is no commandment to put yourself at that level of danger. But what HaKadosh Baruch Hu did was that he put into the woman's desire to have children. So she willfully puts herself into that situation, and he told him, don't worry about it. The time will come that your wife will say she wants to be pregnant, and you'll have other children. It happened to be, maybe 5 years later, I happened to be in America. I got a phone call from this guy. His wife had a baby boy. I was moiled by the bris. So it was a very, very moving experience. So you know really what's behind what's behind what goes on. So now what you say, it's not so simple.
She was okay.
Everything worked out fine. She was in the hospital for 3 days extra, but they already knew, it wasn't smooth sailing as you would call it, but it was okay. Everything was fine. The bris was on time. The mother was there. Baruch Hashem. At any rate, so, but I accept what you're saying. So that basically what you said, when there's a good enough reason, then you're allowed to do it. Sometimes the good reason could be a mitzvah. And sometimes good reason could be other good reasons, and we're going to explore some of those reasons. Okay? Now the halacha is, everybody's familiar with the Gemara. The Gemara in Chulin speaks about this person who saw somebody going to do the mitzvah shiur hakan, and he fell down and he died. And from here, the person became an apikoros. The Gemara says a variety of answers, but in that discussion, one of them is that it's a mokum sakana. So we don't say that the mitzvah's megan, that you're allowed to do it. You're not allowed to put yourself into sakana in order to be makayim a mitzvah, period. I'm going to share with you an amazing thought. And this shiur is very, very wide range. That's why I chose this topic. It's very, very important also. We are all familiar with all kinds of stories about people in the concentration camps that risked their lives in order to do mitzvahs. Is that permissible? You all know these stories, but I'm not telling you something you don't know. And we know great people do those kinds of things. If they would come and ask me, are you allowed to do that? The pashtus, I would say it's forbidden to be done. You're not allowed to put yourself in danger to be a kind of mitzvah. You disagree? You agree?
No, I disagree.
Baruch Hashem.
The Weinberg is a whole set of stories of people practicing as silent during the Holocaust. They're allowed to do it or not. So I'm sure we can get a lot of stories.
No, so I understand, but that's also true. But in other words, the simple move on is that it should be usher. Huh? Yeah. No, I'm not arguing. I'm not right now going to. Yeah, I'm not. But the question over here is, why should it be mutter?
Well, these people thought that the lives were just hanging by a thread anyway.
Oh,
So
that's one of the big truths. But not only that, it's not muchach. No, danger means that I have a choice. I could go over a cliff, or I could go on a straight road. There, going over a cliff and going on a straight road, the chances were the same. Staying alive in the barracks was no less an isser of sakonis tofashis than being makayim mitzvah, right? In other words, the chances of making it this way or that way. So that's one of the answers that's given to the question. But not that it's permissible to, I want to point this out, not that it's permissible to put yourself in danger to makayim the mitzvah, that you're in danger anyways, and it doesn't really, it's a very minor difference in danger this way or that way. But not that it's permissible to put yourself in danger to be makayim a mitzvah. Understand, there's a very, very clear difference between the two things. You have a different answer?
Now, the people want to do a mitzvah there.
Okay.
On 3, you're not allowed to.
On 3.
3. The royal 3, but on anything else, mutar.
The machoikis, yeah. Okay. But this wasn't a Kiddush Hashem. This is, I don't know if you're saying is a valid point, but there wasn't. They wanted to light Hanukkah candles when no one's going to see them. The Germans, it seems that this is an accepted understanding. They were not out to destroy Jewish religion. They out to destroy Jews.
They were out to destroy God.
I don't know. That's not what they said.
That's what I came from. That's what they taught me.
Okay, well, whatever. But the pashtus says that this is. I don't think that this is a situation when they weren't doing it in order to do anything. They were doing it on their own private lives. But I accept that possibility. That's also a discussed possibility. What did you want to say?
It's wrong to challenge the system. If you want to live. certain danger, for sure certain danger.
To do what? To do the
To
mitzvah.
do a mitzvah. To do a mitzvah. You stand out. If you
Well,
get-
no, I don't
if
think
you
that they
know-
did.
if you-
In general, they didn't do the mitzvahs flaunting it in front of the Nazis. They did them in the barracks, behind the backs, whatever. That was, and not only that, I'll tell you even more. In my opinion, I have a cousin who Gustman told him the following psak when he was with the partisans in the Second World War in the forest. So there was one kazayas of matzah. And the question was to give it to one person and he eat the whole kazayas and one person be makayim the mitzvah, or break it up into little pieces and let everybody have just a little crumb. And he paskin to break it up into little pieces and let everybody have a crumb. And it seems that that's the wrong psak. And I've heard that those explained that the reason why he said to do that was because the Makayim mitzvah gave these people hope, gave them determination and the will and the desire to stay alive. The question wasn't about getting a check mark for this mitzvah in particular. It was something that gave them a boost to have determination to live through.
It's wrong sitting here, but there was wrong. We were able to do that little thing.
Yeah, so okay. So now, I'm just starting out with this kind of idea. I'll just say that's there are many different spokes that come out of this hub that are very important. Okay. And anyways, that's the idea. That's the idea of danger. What is called a statistical case of danger that a person is not allowed to put himself into, or is allowed to put himself into? And I'm going to, I guess maybe someday we'll continue the shiur because I didn't really even scratch the surface of the shiur. But I'll just tell you, interesting machlokes, a machlokes between the Yashiv and the Tzitz Eliezer. A person who has appendicitis, does he bench a gomel for that operation of taking out the infected appendix?
Any operation that comes out of any operation that he comes out of, he should go.
Why is that?
Well, because he's been put under anesthetic and Baruch Hashem has come out of it.
Okay, all right. I personally agree with you. I personally agree with you, but I'm not getting involved in the anesthesia subject. Is a fascinating subject. I spoke to anesthesiologists in a few different continents to come to my conclusion on anesthesia. I have to agree with you. But let's say the person did it without anesthetic at all. The Yashiv's opinion, so I saw it quoted in a few places, is being that statistically it's a non-dangerous operation, you don't have to bench goma.
So isn't flying also statistically safe?
Yes. And you don't have to bench goma because of the fact that you're flying.
We say when you go over an ocean, no?
You know what? Ellie, I appreciate it when you do my work for me. Thank you very much. When I don't go over an ocean, do I have to bench goma?
I don't think so.
Do you think that there's a statistic difference between going over the ocean or not?
I don't think so.
So then obviously the reason why you bench goma when you fly over the ocean is for a different reason.
Okay.
And the answer to that question is that it's called a Yordei Hayam. Rav Moshe Feinstein, his definition of being Yordei Hayam is that you are in a place that without the craft that you have with you, one would not be able to survive. And therefore, he held that on domestic flights, you also have to bench goma.
Yeah.
But not because of the statistic chance either. Okay, but that's what? Oh, so now that's true. That's what the Tzitz Eliezer says. Tzitz Eliezer says that your person was in a situation, he was going to be killed by this pollutant that just was in the system. If it burst or didn't burst, I'm not getting involved in the different kinds of things. So you probably have to bench Gomer. And the statistical chance doesn't make a difference. Eliashiv, his opinion is that it does. And this goes even further. I'm just going to end off with this. Maybe we'll continue this some other time. This goes even further. A person who has a disease that there is a cure to, but that disease, who wouldn't use that cure, would be in sakana. There's a machlokas of Chaim Kineskin and Nissen Karelitz, whether he's in a sakana for that. You have to bench goimel for that, or you can machal Shabbos for that. In other words, let's say a person has strep. Strep is something that could lead to be a lethal thing. But you take your penicillin and it's over. Is that called sakanas nefashos or not? Are you allowed to be machal Shabbos or not? And in Nissen says you're allowed to be machal, and says you're not, because you have the medicine. We'll stop over here. Maybe we'll continue this a different time. But this is a question: is there a statistical number that'll tell us the answer to the question of when are you not? When is it called a danger that already a question has to be asked, or when is it called such a small chash that you don't have to worry about it at all? Or do you say that even the smallest possibility is enough that a person is mechuyev to be choishesh for staying healthy? Okay, I want to thank you all very much for coming, and we should have be gesund.
Amen. Shkoyach.
Okay.
Rabbi, will you be doing this every Sunday night?
I don't do it every Sunday night, but probably we'll do it again. Probably next Sunday.
Next Sunday, gentlemen, same price.
Okay.